theoretically kind of at the 4, if you know what I mean, Jason, because he's going to actually defend the 3, but he plays the 4, and it lets them put a lot more shooting on the floor. And so when you imagine those kind of lineups, I think that's one of the reasons why I would be a little bit of a believer in this Heat team is that they're going to try with Spoelstra. They're going to put out their kind of their full effort. And I think they're really good defensively. Adebayo, I had pretty high hopes, and he's been even better than I thought he would be so far.
Yeah, no, they have been good as a unit. Like I said, I mean, this could be like, look at the Suns right now, who we can get into next briefly, but like these young teams get off to good starts and then the season catches up with them. There's some teams that start slow and are going to be really good at the end. It's a long grind. It's a 6-month regular season. So hats off to these young teams.
Yep.
Great starts. Okay, we didn't expect much of the Heat or a team like the Suns, especially in the West, right? But they're off to the good starts that they're off to, and we're going to give them credit where credit is due. But I want to see more because I drink the Kool-Aid way too often on these teams and then end up getting burned for it. So I'm trying to take the more realistic wait-and-see approach. Show me more Heat and show me more Phoenix.
So I feel like the Heat, personally, I think they could be the third best team in the East. I'm not ready to put them ahead of the Bucks. Do you feel like they could get there, or are the Celtics still ahead of them?
I mean, the Celtics have had their own share of struggles, but I want to see these two teams play each other in a head-to-head, and then I can answer that question. I'm just not there yet. Like look at the Pacers. Everyone wrote them off for dead after the first week, and then they've won 3 in a row, and now they look good. So what if the Heat go on a 3-game skid, and we're sitting here talking next week, oh, what happened? The Celtics, I think, are a little more battle-tested. They have more guys that have been through it. So right now, I'll still give the nod to Boston. But like I said, Ben, it's a long season. Anything can happen. You have peaks and you have valleys, and that's why it's a long 82-game grind.
Fair enough. And one of the teams that we thought would be ascendant this year, Jason, was your beloved Brooklyn Nets, who have had some ups and downs. But I think, Jason, as we talk about the Eastern Conference, that it is time for our Nets news of the week, Jason. So hit me with what you got.
Oh, man, this team is all over the place. There's days where I'm like, oh, they put together a complete game. Like, look at last Friday against Houston. They were down 12, and then before you know it, they were up 15. And they did just enough to hold off Westbrook and Harden, who was like 2 of 16 from 3, not realizing that you were in Canada this past weekend. And I was texting you that the Nets actually won an NBA game without making a single mid-range shot. So it was either 3-pointers or dunks and layups, which I thought that was an astounding stat, but that just shows the direction that today's NBA is going in. So great complete effort. They beat Houston. It was a much-needed win, after the blowout loss to Indiana, the 2 one-point OT losses in the first week to the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves, barely beating the Knicks, who have been dreadful. And then they go out the next night in Detroit, who did not have Blake Griffin, did not have Derrick Rose, did not have Reggie Jackson. And guess what, Ben? The Nets lost to the Pistons. I was out in Jersey City celebrating my birthday with some friends right before the Diaz-Masvidal fight. And I had to sit there and watch all my loved ones who came to wish me a happy birthday laugh at me because I'm sitting there staring at this giant 80-inch projection screen going, why me? So, I mean, it's a tale of two stories, really, the first couple weeks for the Nets because, yeah, Kyrie Irving's looked fantastic, and he's broken all sorts of net records, and he looks like he's worth every penny. Karis LeVert is ascending. I thought that he's looked good. He struggled shooting the ball, but he's making up for it in other ways. I think Jared Allen has been fantastic. The size he's put on, the experience that he's showing. There's some good and there's some bad, man. But look, this team cannot make free throws. You're not going to get by shooting 70.4% from the line through the first 7 games. If they up that to 85% of their free throws, let's say, or even 80, I'm being a little generous, they would be sitting here at either 5-2 or 6-1, but the only legitimate loss being the Indiana loss.
I mean, I think you have to look at the other side of the ball, though. I mean, they have been a flammable defensive team. They gave up 127 to the Timberwolves. They gave up 109 to the Knicks, 134 to the Grizzlies, 118 to the Pacers, 116 to the Rockets might have been their best defensive effort because they gave up 113 to the Pistons and 125 to the Pelicans. I mean, you're not going to win a lot of basketball games with that sort of defense. And I mean, to me, Jason, that's what I see with this team is just defensively, they've been just bad. I mean, they've been a bad defensive team, and that is not what Kenny Atkinson is about. He believes in tight rotations. I mean, where do you think that's come from? Why have they struggled so much so far this year defensively?
Well, you bring up a lot of great points with their piss poor defense that they've shown through the first 7 games. And I think a lot of that is a result of turnovers. I mean, it's a new team, so guys are still getting to know each other, communicating on both ends of the floor, yada, yada. But the turnovers, I think, lead to a lot of transition opportunities, which shows the spike in scoring from opposing teams. Spencer Dinwiddie, who is one player I want to highlight, has not looked like himself at all. I don't know what it could be. I don't know if it's something mental, but he had one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the NBA the last 2 seasons that he's actually been a regular rotation player. And he's been giving the ball up willingly. I know this is the season of giving, Ben, but Spencer Dinwiddie's going to have to tighten his purse strings because he's turning the ball over way too much. And I think if they cut down on the turnovers, even by 25%, I mean, they beat the Pelicans Monday night, and they still had 25, 26 turnovers. That's not going to win you many ball games. And I know they're only 1 game under 500, and I know it's super early and it's a new team. But I think if you cut down on the turnovers, that allows you to get back on defense by your own terms and not have easy transition buckets by the opposition. And I think that will cut down the defensive numbers because they're staying with guys. I mean, look at Brandon Ingram, who went off for 38 points or 40 points. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a career high for him. And the way Taurean Prince checked him, when the game counted most and it was on the line, that's how they need to defend all season. So
you hit the nail on the head for the second part. I think that Atkinson needs to make a couple moves in the starting lineup. I really do. I think he needs to put DeAndre Jordan on the bench, and I think he needs to do it now. If you look at some of the common themes in the games they've lost, it's been a lot of just terrible interior defense. Jordan played 30 minutes. He got 4 blocks against the Pistons, but he missed a lot of assignments, a lot of wide open shots. And then I think the other one is, I mean, one of the kind of offenders here, Jason, honestly, and I'm as high on him as anyone, but Caris LeVert has struggled a little defensively. I think part of it is that he's playing the 3. He's a little small to play the 3. I think that's hurt him. And I mean, while Joe Harris is a good team defender, he's just not elite. And that starting lineup without Jarrett Allen just doesn't have a lot of defensive talent. Taurean Prince has always been a little bit better regarded on that end than he's played. And I think they need to get a little help because they have guys in that second unit, Jason, who can really defend. Guys like Garrett Temple, guys like Dinwiddie, guys like Jarrett Allen, even guys like Karooks, they really compete on that end. And that's before you get to guys like David Nwaba, who are really solid defensive players. I think Atkinson needs to make a change. I mean, what do you think of potentially swapping out 1 or 2 of those offensive guys to let them run on the second unit? Because to me, LeVert and Jordan on the second unit would be absolutely phenomenal for the Nets, where neither one of them has to focus as much on their defense.
Well, first and foremost, DeAndre Jordan left the game against the Pelicans with a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
And the Nets don't play again until Friday, but his status for Brooklyn's upcoming 5-game road trip is up in the air. But I totally agree. I think Jarrett Allen needs to be the starter. But what I disagree with you on is Atkinson changing the starting lineup. I think without Kevin Durant, those are the best 5 guys that Kenny can start. LeVert, Irving, Prince, Harris, and Jarrett Allen. I think taking LeVert out earlier in the first quarter, letting Kyrie finish up the first, putting Caris out there with the second unit, I think has helped, so far, because in every game that the Nets have played, they've held double-digit leads. I think the Memphis game, they were up as much as 8, but they were up big on Minnesota. They were up big on Detroit, big on Indiana, and they lost because of their inability to play defense. So I think a lot of it is just a new team getting to know each other, but we don't know how long Jordan's going to be out. And my advice to Kenny is to play Nick Claxton because I was talking to Christian today, and I got to give him credit for this nugget, but with DeAndre Jordan on the floor, the Nets have been outscored by 13 points per every 100 possessions with DJ on the floor. Yeah. Now, he did look decent, against the Pelicans front court that had no Zion Williamson and a very banged-up Derek Favors. It was starting to look like the DeAndre Jordan the Nets thought they were getting. It's unfortunate that he stepped on the foot of his former teammate with the Clippers, JJ Redick, and he joked about it today. I don't think it's too serious, but he's going to be out a couple games, I think. And I want to see what this rookie can do because he looked great in the preseason. I want to see him get some minutes against some of these tough Western Conference teams out west and give him some minutes behind Jared Allen and see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, it really helps to have Allen out there, I think, because he just helps clean up some of those mistakes out on the perimeter. But I think you absolutely said the right thing, which is that you might not need to take LeVert out because Atkinson, one of the things that he's just a master of is he's great at playing with his rotations. So as you said, if you take Irving out a little bit earlier and you have LeVert basically running with a few second unit guys, it's the equivalent of doing that. So I think you're absolutely right. Any last thoughts on the Nets before we move on?
No, I think we covered everything. I mean, look, the Nets are going to be there. Like I said, they could easily be 5-2 or 6-1, but I'd rather these losses come in October and November than in April and hopefully May. I mean, I was talking to Christian last night. I said, look at the way that Irving and LeVert are developing chemistry.
Yep.
You put Kevin Durant in there, and that's a three-headed monster offensively. I think the defense will work itself out. You know, like, look at the teams like the Suns and the Heat who have gotten off to hot starts. You regress to the mean. The Nets are not going to be this bad defensively all season. That's why they have Nwaba. That's why they held on to Kurucs. That's why they got Wilson Chandler and Garrett Temple, these do-it-all glue rotation guys. So the defense is going to be there. I think all teams that go abroad in the preseason start slow. And that's a bit of a no-brainer. But now I'm going to – you serve me up a nice T-ball, so I'm going to return the favor. I want you to give the people what they want. Are we blissful or are we bullish?
Well, I think this week we're kind of going the middle because there was a story that came out on ESPN, and I just want to address this because it raised the possibility of Anthony Davis going to the Bulls based on a camp he went to where some of the people had asked him, would you ever come play? And he talked very happily about Chicago and how much he loves it. And now there's this idea that Anthony Davis is going to go to Chicago, that he's going to be a free agent. Maybe he'd come play based on this. It's just not happening. And I want to address it now, Jason. This is not going to happen. He's not coming to Chicago. There's been no track record of guys coming to Chicago in free agency. There was the 1 year where Chris Broussard was convinced that LeBron was going to come and bring Dwayne Wade with him. That obviously did not happen. And it's not going to happen in this case either. It's just it's one of those things where, of course, this guy's going to talk about his hometown. He's going to say that he loves Chicago because he's from Chicago. So it's a non-story. And at the moment, while the Bulls could certainly use him and his defense, it's just not going to happen, Jason. So I guess we'll call that the Ben's Bulls blues because there's no Davis. But
Can I say one thing?
Yeah,
before we actually get to the X's and O's here, because this is what bothers me about Davis. I think it's a cool concept. He was talking to some kids and he said, look, I'm a free agent. Anything's possible. And I think as athletes, as role models, the goal is to give kids hope. Not like saying, oh, he's going to promise to come home to Chicago or anything, but just to give kids hope that they could do anything they set their minds to, which I'm a big proponent of. But then when the Bulls are getting ready to play the Lakers and the media asked Davis about it, and he goes, well, I never said that. I mean, come on, just say, listen, I was talking to the kids. I am a free agent at the end of the year. Right now I'm focused on the Lakers, but yeah, I'm a free agent. And guess what? As a free agent, I could sign anywhere. So I'm in LA right now and I'm happy to be here, but I'm from Chicago. I mean, homecomings in the NBA and professional sports are becoming more and more common. You saw LeBron do it, even though he was, with Cleveland, they went to Miami. You saw Kyrie Irving just do it. So it does happen. Don't lie to the media about it when there's video evidence of you saying the complete opposite of what you told them. So that just bothered me.
Well, I'll tell you what doesn't bother me. The Bulls are beating his Lakers right now at home. So I'm excited about that. And I think it makes it a nice segue because we talked about what he's talking about as his potential new team. It's not going to happen. But his current team, the Lakers, have had quite a run. I had to chide you last week a little, Jason, because you left off Lakers Mavs from our marquee matchups, and it ended up being perhaps the game of the week. And the Lakers in general have really been a phenomenal team. I mean, they've been playing absolutely great. I mean, have you been surprised, Jason, by the fact that the Lakers are 5-1 at the